What if your reality is not yours anymore? Dive into gaslighting's sinister grip with me, the mind game that makes you question your reality. Welcome to the Connection Catalyst podcast, episode number 11. And now I'm going to talk about all the manipulation tactics that were used on me, as I mentioned in the previous episode about intermittent reinforcement. So today we're going into the second manipulation tactic that I've lived through and I have it experienced firsthand because I was manipulated by a narcissist before in my life a few years ago. And I know exactly firsthand how it feels to be controlled by all these different mind games that narcissists could have. So today I'm going to tell you what it is and how to go about it based on my own experience. So, what is gaslighting? The term comes from the movie from 1944 called Gaslit. And the theme of the movie was that the husband comes and changes the gas lamps and then convinces his wife that this never happened so that she questions her reality and her own sanity. So, gaslighting is this psychological mechanism where someone questions your perception, your experience, your reality, your thoughts, your feelings. So, convincing you that what you saw you didn't see, what you heard you didn't hear, so that then you doubt yourself and you think that you're going crazy. Because in this state, people are easier to control. Because this is a state of fear when you're doubting yourself and being like, oh my God, am I really going insane? Like, is this person really telling the truth? Like, when, let's say, a husband shouts at his wife and then storms out, and then the wife is crying, and then the husband comes back and being like, I never said that. Then the wife is like, oh my God, did I just make it up? And it could be the other way around. So gaslighting is when someone erodes your confidence and then turns small doubts into like the whole reality crisis. So in my case, how it worked was that this guy that I told you about before, I call him Robin, and he actually first did a lot of good things for me, like love bombing and all these things, right? Other manipulation tactics. And then he said something, for example, that, I don't know, let's say that he thinks that this person is like, I don't know, a shitty coworker or whatever, right? And then when this person would come, they would be super kind to them and then say these things to me that, oh, this person is so nice. And I'm just like, you just said that they are a shitty person. But then they were like, no, I never said that, you know? And that's just like one example of how this can happen. But these little things of how they question you, like say, okay, that never happened, or you're too sensitive, you're just a drama queen, stop exaggerating, I never said that. All these things, all these small things make you question if you're actually mad and then lead to this whole disruption in your system of your sense of self and sense of truth and trusting your intuition. So the manipulator makes you question your reality, makes you feel confused about what you thought, what you felt, what you experienced, and so on. And then they often isolate you from all the support, friends, family, and so on, so that they are the only ones telling you how you act. And they act like as the person proving you that you're going insane and that you're unstable. So they create dependency on their opinion and their version of the truth. So then you start believing their truth rather than your own. And this is a recipe for disaster. And how they do it, they use different tactics for it. They can deny the facts. For example, I never said that. You're just imagining it, right? They can contradict. So they say, oh, this never happened. Your memory is wrong. So, how do these manipulators do it? They have a few ways. First is denial. So, as I said, this never happened. You're just imagining it. Second is trivializing your feelings. So, you're too dramatic, you're too sensitive, don't overreact. Third is shifting blame. So, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have hit you or I wouldn't have yelled at you, right? Then the countering. So, for example, your memory is wrong. here is what really happened. So they use all these different things to question. And of course, they start with small things so that you think it's not a big deal. And then over time, they build in a way in their manipulation, and they make you start questioning bigger and bigger and more important things in your life, which is really, really like crazy, because I've been questioning everything in my life when I was gaslit by this guy, and it was really, really extreme. So, they can deny the obvious harm and then act caring, so that like you feel like, oh my God, like what is true? Are they actually caring for me? Am I imagining something? And so on. So, yeah, they can also actually create some kind of fake concern. Gaslighting also can be conscious and unconscious. So, one is when people deliberately make you question things, for example, in partnership. Yeah. Like, let's say a high performing man who wants to keep the facade of being like so successful and achieving so much in his relationship, or show off how amazing he is in dating and so on. He might have a fight with his partner or the girl that he's dating, and then rather than saying the truth, express it in a way where it minimizes her feelings, or it minimizes his input into the whole situation and conflict. And that makes her feel like, oh my God, you don't really see my feelings and you don't really see your fault in this situation and in relationships, right? But especially Enneagram 3 man who wants to look good in the eyes of others can be gaslighting and coloring the story so that he is actually looking better if someone is looking at the situation from the outside. That's also gaslighting. And if someone does it deliberately, that's conscious. But also, we are unconsciously gaslighting. For example, in families. I've given this example already before, but I will say it again because it's a good example, where my parents split when I was around 2.5 years old, and my mom was telling me that everything is good with my father, right? So she wanted me to avoid the pain of feeling like my father has left and we don't live with them anymore. I mean, with him. And like he was not living with us. And she was telling me the story that he just lives with his mommy because we lived with my grandma from my mom's side. So my mom said, okay, I live with my mom, you live with your mom. And he went to live with his mom. So everything is sweet, everything is good. But I could feel in my body as a little child that not everything is good and something is clearly wrong, and some emotions are clearly not cool between my parents. But my mom didn't want to concern me with it, so she gaslit me. So then I started doubting myself. Even if her intention was good, I actually developed self-doubt and distrust towards my own intuition and my instincts, because I was told by my authority, my mother, my main caregiver, right, who didn't abandon me in comparison to my father, that this is not true, that everything is okay, just to concern me. So this is unconscious, but it still can imprint this pattern of doubting yourself and not believing your own truth, your own intuition. So yeah, this is like a light example, but it could be also like the parent, acting really shitty towards a child, for example, and then being like, oh, I never said that. You're mixing it all up, right? So there are different like ways how the gaslighting can happen, but both of these ways, conscious and unconscious, can harm you very deeply, because the lack of awareness of this pattern, this manipulation tactics, doesn't really exclude um, the impact, or doesn't excuse the influence that this had on the trust, especially towards yourself in the situation, right? So this tactic actually creates cognitive dissonance. So the person that is gaslit like creates so much self-doubt, and the mind just clashes. So yeah, it can spark a lot of anxiety. It can even lead to a depression. It can be, the cause of the mental breakdown, because at some point you just don't know what is true. You don't know what is real. And then you just go into the spiral like, am I doing something wrong, or am I really going mad? Because this person that I dearly love, especially if it's a partner, right, or a family member, tells me that like this what I saw didn't happen, right? So it's a real deep issue for us, the people that were gaslit. And I say us because I was there, right? I needed to heal a lot of trauma to actually get out of this like pattern of like doubting myself constantly and feeling like I'm just a, unworthy piece of crap because of this person that was constantly telling me that there is something wrong with me and constantly gaslighting me. So how can we spot gaslighting so that we don't get involved in this trap? Because if we do, it can really lead to like hell, even to like suicidal thoughts and really big therapy needs or isolation. So we need to spot it before it gets too late. For example, how can it be seen? By clashing realities. So when you feel like your view contradicts the view of the other person and they invalidate you all the time to stay right, this can be one of the examples. Or when they project onto you what they are doing. So, for example, the narcissist telling you that you are so selfish, you are so self-centered, right? So they are talking to you as if they were talking to a mirror. In the example that I said with this guy who I called Robin, he was coming to me and screaming at me that I manipulate people because he was the one manipulating them, right? So this is the projection that he was putting onto me because he was not seeing it about himself. And then also in the family, we can spot it by the emotions being dismissed, right? So for the family to maintain the picture of being a perfect family, they can tell the child that they exaggerate in their emotions and making the child feel like, come on, we are so close as the family. We are so loving. We gave you everything. We worked our asses off so that you can have a good life, right? So they dismiss your emotions and then just create this like surface layer bond and surface layer like picture of the family that can be just shown to the outside world while denying that inside of the family there is actually crap going on, right? Even pathology sometimes. So this is how gaslighting can be spotted. And how to heal out of gaslighting. This is very important. First, we need to rebuild self-trust. And I will talk about self-trust in the further episodes because if you want to build trust in your partnership, in your relationships, you need to build trust with yourself as well. So you can journal the facts that have happened. When you see that there is a situation and you know that your partner can potentially question it, just journal what happened so that you don't question yourself. Seek validation outside. So ask witnesses of the situation what they saw, what they heard, what they felt in this experience, right? Practice self compassion and know that, okay, maybe if this person questioned me 5 times, maybe actually they are the ones manipulating, and it's not about me not knowing what's up. So question everything and be compassionate towards yourself because there is a reason why you are in this gaslighting trap. Also, question the motive, question the intention. So, how does denying my reality actually contribute to them? Or how does denial serve them? So, question the person that constantly makes you question yourself as well. And then also balance the inquiry. So, question your perception, but in a healthy way. You can, for example, approach it as like a scientist doing research. So rather than invalidating yourself, stay open to all the perspectives, see what they said, see what you said, and then explore both, See that you can have a perspective and they can have a perspective that is also true for them. And then see how you can empathize with both but without losing your own center, your own truth, and what you've experienced. Because this is the problem when you take the other person's truth as your own. And that's what I did. Because this man was like a leader for me for self development and personal development. He showed me a lot of different tools, which I didn't know before. So he kind of like depicted himself as this teacher, as this guru, right? Someone who knows better than me. So the problem was when I started believing his truth more so than my truth. And that's why this was such a big theme for me. And I needed to heal from it for months, if not years, actually, because I was so like, I don't know, minimized in my own truth that I only took as true what he said. And I really needed to build my own confidence, rebuild it actually, and my own trust to my own gut and instinct and intuition and so on. And I wouldn't be who I am without it. I needed to go through this experience to now see through it. But it's just something that is really, really deep. And because it starts so small with these little things and then just grows to all these big things, sometimes it's not easy to spot at the beginning. But when you see these signs, when someone constantly invalidates you, questions you, and so on, just notice that it happens, start journaling, and see if gaslighting is happening, because if it's too late, you might need a long time to heal if you're just already in this trap. But oftentimes, for a person who is manipulated, it's actually hard to see when you're in it. So I only saw this whole thing when I zoomed out, left to the other side of the world, to Australia by myself, and started like seeing these situations from the past when he was doing that. And only then I was like, what the actual flying F just happened, and how I was entangled in this. So, this is it for today. I'm going to talk about other manipulation tactics and narcissism and people pleasing in further episodes so that you can fully grasp these relationship concepts well based on my experience, and you might avoid these traps. Send it to someone who might be gaslit right now, or maybe you are. So comment below how you see this pattern playing out in your life. And if you have any experiences about gaslighting that you would like to share, please feel free to comment or text me at karolina@karolinakuraj.com. Karolina with K. And then my surname is KURAJ.com, so that we can bring more light, more awareness to this pattern and start talking about it. Because the more people talk about it, the better our future is. Because then we can be aware of these mechanisms and shift our subconscious mind to stop attracting these kind of situations into our life. So I got out of this pattern and got out of being manipulated by working on myself, on my truth, on my belief, on my emotions. And I started learning how to work with my subconscious mind to shift my beliefs so that these people are even not a part of my reality anymore. And I can teach you exactly how to do it as well. So if you want to find me, contact me on karolinakuraj.com, KAROLINA.KURAJ.com. You can find all my resources and part about me there as well if you want to know more about me. And yeah, share it with someone who needs it. Thank you so much for watching me today. I'm sending you so much love from beautiful Thailand, and until the next time.